my channel, where we discuss everything and all things politics, especially about the 2023 presidential election held in Nigeria on February 25th, 2023, and the result announced on March 1st, 2023, in a controversial circumstance in which Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the All Progressive Congress was declared the winner. And the outcome of that declaration, which many are judged as a wrong process, was being challenged in the courts, starting from the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, from where it's going to end up at the Supreme Court. Now, today, September 6th, is the D-Day that Nigerians have been waiting for, to find out who actually won the election. Who between Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the All Progressive Congress, who actually won the election without the shenanigans of the Independent National Electoral Commission. That is what Nigerians will know today. They would like to know who actually won the election. And that is what the justices of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal are expected to deliver today. But the big question is, how confident are you that the judiciary will do the needful? How confident are Nigerians that the judiciary will do the needful? A whole lot of Nigerians are skeptical of the impartiality of the Nigerian judiciary. So today is like a day in which the judiciary has to redeem itself, has to prove the skeptics wrong, have to show that they can deliver judgment no matter whose odds is God. That is what will make a difference today. But if they stay on the status quo, if things continue the way they used to be in Nigeria, where almost every institution has been compromised and corrupted, the verdict may not be any different from all the verdicts we used to see in this country, which is to protect special interests instead of protecting the interest of the generality of Nigerians, protecting the interests of a few individuals instead of the interest of the electorate. You don't need to be a prophet to know that Nigerians know who they voted for. They know who they expected to have been announced as the winner of the election. They are not unawares of the processes and what they have done or what they did on February 25. But INEC announced the results, and that result they announced have been challenged in the courts. Of course, the Independent National Electoral Commission, there are so many decisions they took that day that caught many Nigerians by surprise. They disregarded Section 134, Subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution. That section of the Constitution was criteria for anyone to be declared the president of Nigeria in an election where two or more presidential candidates participated. It is very clear, that section, that for anyone to be declared the winner of an election, of a presidential election where two or more candidates participated, anyone to be declared winner, one, the person must get majority of the vote cast in the election. Two, the person must have 25% in 2/3 of the states of the federation. And the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. That Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, that and had already been declared and cleared as meaning conjunctive by the Supreme Court in 2008 and subsequent rulings. It means that 25% in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, is mandatory. It is compulsory. It's like a requirement of getting maths and English for you to do most of the courses in Nigerian universities. Maths and English. If you have maths, you didn't have the English, you can't do the course. If you have English, you didn't have the maths, you can't do the course. So we Nigerians are waiting to see how the court, Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, is going to interpret that section of the Constitution. Because if you go by that section of the Constitution, the only presidential candidate that qualified, that made that requirement to be declared winner of the election was Peter Obi of the Labour Party. He was the only candidate who got 25%, more than 25% of the vote. He got over 60% of the vote cast in the Federal Capital Territory. So he is the one that you can say with certainty among all that met the requirement to be declared. Aside other requirements like getting 2/3, getting 25% of the vote cast in 2/3 of the 36 states of the Federation, which translates to about 24 states. And Peter Obi also is the one that if you go by what were evidence that were presented in the court, especially the fact that Peter Obi was able to show to the court that he won Rivers State and Benue State. And given the fact that it has been independently verified by British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC, and the Premium Times, an online newspaper, who tabulated the results of Rivers State using the IRI figures from INEC. They were able to show that Peter Obi won Rivers State. Now, if you put all that together, you will discover that Peter Obi won majority of the states in the country. And he has also, in the court process, presented and challenged results in 21 states. So if they took their time, the justices were able to take their time to retabulate these results, I think Peter Obi ought to have a good chance in this verdict that we're expecting today. But only God knows what the justices tabulated, whether they even had time to do all that. Because I remember that Peter Obi's star witness, a professor of mathematics, was able to show through results downloaded from the INEC IRIF that 18,088 results sheets were blurred. Yet these result sheets were used to declare Bola Ahmed Tinubu winner of the election. And he calculated, and unless somebody was able to to challenge his figures. And I don't think anybody did in that court proceeding. He was able to prove that in that blood results, 18,088 blood results, was allocated 2.5 million votes, with which Bola Ahmed Tinubu was declared winner of the election with 8.7 million votes. Now, in the final written address of the Peter Obi's lawyers, they say, if you remove those 2.5 million votes from the blood result sheets, which nobody can read what was written in them, Tinubu's numbers will drop down to roughly 6.2 million votes. He will no longer have majority of the vote cast. And if you remove Rivers State and Benue from the number of states that Tinubu won, the number of states he had won will reduce to 10 states. But at the end of the day, we have to see what criteria that they will use in sustaining the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Because already people are, all kinds of rumors are there on social media, but we don't have to go by that. We have to wait for the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal to tell us who they think, by the evidence before them, that won the election. And they will show how they did it, how the person won. Because if you read the report of the European Union Observer Mission, you discover that one of the things with which they tackled the whole process was that not up to 33%, not more than 33% of the votes had been uploaded on the IRE before the announcement of the winner of the election. Now, these are some of the things that call to question what INEC did that day, how they hurriedly announced the results. And the European Union also said that they couldn't even wrap their heads around how INEC figures of winners of the election was able to be tabulated, so that they, in other words, it cannot be independently verified how they arrived at their conclusion. Now, all these are matters that are before this Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. Perhaps they will be able to explain to Nigerians how INEC was able to arrive at the choice of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the APC, as the winner of the election. So one of the contentious issues that will get clarity today is the status of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, in an election. What is the status? Is that and conjunctive as it had been since 2008 interpretation, or the and had taken a new turn in 2023? That's one of the key issues, because even if you go to social media and everything, one of the things that people are standing on is this issue of 25% in Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. I remember Chief Mike Igini, a lawyer, and a former resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State. On February 24th, in a Rise Television interview, he laid bare on conditions for anyone to be declared the winner of the 2023 presidential election. And he sounded so prophetic because he was saying it. Many of you have seen that video. I have done a lot of things with that video. That video had gone viral at several periods, where he said, this election that is going to take place tomorrow, no one should be declared the winner of the election without getting 25% of the vote cast in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. It was as if he anticipated that a problem will arise based on that particular section of the Constitution. Go and watch it again. You said he was saying it as if he knows that there was a plot, because look at the way he was sounding. The way he was sounding was as if he was aware that there is a plot to disregard that FCT. He said this election that is going to take place tomorrow, before anyone, that he want the whole world to hear him. If you are a follower of this channel, you know I have shared that video of Mike in Guinea several times. He said, I want the whole world to know. So he wasn't restricting his assertion on Nigerians. He wasn't restricting it on Nigerians. He said he want the whole world to know that this election that is taking place tomorrow, that no one will be declared or should be declared the winner whenever the election is declared without getting 25% in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And he said that 25% is like a compulsory question. You must get it, even if you get the other things right. Even if you have 25% in 2/3 of the 36 states of the Federation, you must get 25% in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Go and watch that again. You will see that he was almost being prophetic. And he was directing his alarm not just to Nigeria, because he was saying, I want the whole world to know. He didn't say the election was taking place in Nigeria. But why was Mike in Guinea shouting that I want the whole world to know? I want the whole world to know that this election that will take place tomorrow, that no one should be declared the winner of the election without getting 25% in Abuja. It was as if he anticipated it. It was as if he was a seer, and now the chicken has come home to roost. Now we are going to find out what the court will say about 25% in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And what he says will determine a lot of things in terms of how Nigerians will view the judiciary going forward. It's as clear as that. That 25% in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal going to follow the precedent that Supreme Court had laid and said that it is mandatory for you to get 25% in Abuja to be declared the winner of the election? Or are they going to change their mind, as Michael Andwaka, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, had said in a previous interview with Arise Television, where he said that, look, in terms of that section 134 subsection 2b, that and the Supreme Court had decided that it was conjunctive in 2008. But he now said, unless the Supreme Court may decide to look at it again, the Supreme Court may change its mind. And I asked myself, why would the Supreme Court change its mind about and? What has changed in the English language that and will mean a different thing in 2023 than what it was in 2008? So these are some of the issues that will need clarity, that will need serious interrogation at the end of the day after the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal delivers its judgment. It is one area that I am waiting, like so many other Nigerians, to see how Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be protected in that particular section of the Constitution, in that particular conjunctive status of that and in section 134, subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution. Because that will be the game changer. That will be the game changer. If they're able to save Aswaju on that, then I will not be surprised if he will be saved in every other thing that had been petitioned against him. It means that the status quo ante will remain. It means that Nigerians have to live with the kind of judiciary that they have. It means that Nigerians have to accept the situation until the Supreme Court now interpret it on their own. Because right now, this Presidential Election Petition Tribunal is sitting at the appeal court. So if the appeal court was able to save Tinubu today by saying that FCT is no longer compulsory, that you get 25% there, that is not conjunctive, the matter will end up at the Supreme Court. Then Supreme Court will now tell us whether what they said in 2008 is now different from what they will say in 2023. So it's a very interesting process that Nigerians are going to witness today. And from all indication, if Tinubu is saved from the 25% in Abuja, he's likely to be saved in every other thing, because they will easily find a way to save him in every other aspect. But this is one area that many Nigerians are standing on to look at what the judiciary will say, what this Presidential Election Petition Tribunal will say. How do they interpret Section 134, Subsection 2B of the 1999 Constitution? How do they interpret the "and" in that section? That "and" that the Supreme Court had in previous judgment said that it is conjunctive, it is compulsory. You cannot get one without the other. You cannot get 2/3, 25% in 2/3 of the 36 states of the Federation without getting Abuja. That is it. It is just as compulsory as most courses in Nigerian universities, where you cannot get admitted without getting Maths and English. If you get Maths, you didn't get English, you can get it. If you get English, you didn't get Maths, you can get it. Those are facts. And the conjunctive nature or interpretation of that section of the Constitution in 2008, we would like to know whether it had gotten a new meaning in the English language, because after all, the Constitution was written in English language. So we're going to see how they will interpret that section of the Constitution. My guess is that if Tinubu is saved on that section of the Constitution, he is likely to be saved in virtually every other petitions against him. That's what I suspect. That's what my mind is telling me. And this is because this is Nigeria. And then another particular issue is the issue of forfeiture. Forfeiture is another issue that I'm going to address today. In the defense of Aswaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu by his lawyers, they are claiming that his forfeiture of $460,000 to the United States court to the United States government in Chicago was a civil forfeiture. But whatever you can term it, the evidence that was presented by P2B and their lawyers have shown that the civil forfeiture, whatever you call it, if you go and check section 137 of the 1999 Constitution, where it gave conditionalities for anyone to be disqualified from an election in Nigeria or from participating in a presidential election in Nigeria. They talk about anybody who has been convicted, anyone who has been fined, anyone who has been found guilty of dishonesty. Now, in 2014, in Mohamed Abacha versus the federal government, the Supreme Court made it clear that forfeiture is evidence of a crime, that if you didn't commit a crime, you can't forfeit. It was very clear that it was an evidence of crime. It was evidence that you have committed a crime. It was evidence you have committed dishonesty. So if you go by that, there is no way that the presidential candidate of the APC could get away with that issue of forfeiture, the consequences of that forfeiture. Because the debate is no longer whether he forfeited. He himself admitted he forfeited. His lawyers admitted. They are not arguing that he didn't forfeit $460,000 in the 1990s. Process of narcotic to the United States government. They were not arguing that. They never argued that he didn't forfeit. They're only saying that it was a civil forfeiture. Okay. And then they were arguing other things around it. But ordinarily, in a decent society, a society that values morality, a society that cherishes integrity, honesty, ab initio, somebody who forfeited $460,000 process of narcotic will not be allowed to contest the election in the United States, in United Kingdom. Even if it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago he did that, he would not even get the ticket of a party, a major political party in America to contest the election, in United Kingdom to contest the election, in Germany to contest the election, not to talk of winning it. That alone will be a no-no. And the person will not get the ticket of the party ab initio. So that is an issue that ordinarily, in a decent society, is enough to stop the APC from nominating him in the first place. But Nigeria being what it is, and we all know what the world look at Nigeria as, and what we have confirmed by our conducts. So nobody really have much regard to Nigeria in terms of integrity, in terms of honesty. Nigeria is looked at as epicenter of corruption and all that is wrong with the societies in the world. I think Nigeria is a case that you use to remind the people. I think if I'm not a Nigerian, and let's say I'm from Kenya, I'm from Malawi, I'm from any other country in the world, Nigeria will be a typical example of what a nation should not be. Nigeria will be what I will use in educational curriculums to remind the world, never be like Nigeria. Never be like that country where anything goes. that country that tolerates virtually anything, that country where even in future, Hush Puppy could become the president. Hush Puppy could come and contest the election, and he will be voted for, and he will be rooted for, because it's all about the money. It's all about the interest. Nobody talks about the integrity of the nation, the future of the nation, the children of the nation. So whatever interpretation they give today, they should also know that whatever verdict they give, even as I'm talking now, I'm really saying my own. I believe that they must have finished writing their judgment days ago before fixing today as the day of judgment. But whatever they do, they should know that the world is looking at us. The world is laughing at us. They may think it doesn't really matter, but the world, they are watching. That's why they treat us like shit all over the world. Because when they look at our home front, they see that we have no values. We don't have values in Nigeria. All we care about is primitive accumulation of wealth. Get the money, no matter how you get it. That's why Nigeria has bad name, bad reputation all over the world. If not for people like Burna Boy, who are doing Nigeria proud, you hardly mention Nigeria anywhere where there are positive things. Of course, Nigerians in diaspora who are doing great things in their professions, in their areas of life. The world literally has no regard for Nigerian leaders because of the processes of our selection. How do we select those who govern Nigeria? It sends message. We may think we are doing it after it's within Nigeria. It is between this tribe and that tribe, this religion and that religion. But the embassies are here. They are sending signals to their countries. They are sending signals to their countries. So the judgment today will show whether Nigeria has any morality, any moral right to talk internationally in terms of integrity, in terms of honesty, in terms of due process. They may deliver the law today, but have they delivered justice? They may deliver the law today. The justices of the courts, they know the law, they know the justice. Can they deliver both of them together? Both the law and justice. Many of them know the law, but they don't care about the justice. So that is what we're going to find out today. Whether Nigeria's judiciary will continue to be a judiciary that delivers the law as they interpret it without regard for justice. That is one of the things we would like to see today. And of course, as I said, whatever happens today will eventually end up at the Supreme Court. Okay. So what they do here today will tell us what the Supreme Court will look like in days to come. But in terms of morality, in terms of integrity, we may lose it today as a nation based on the outcome of the election, outcome of the judgment. That's, to me, it's a fact. So I have just talked about the issue of forfeiture. And I have said that going by the Supreme Court judgment of 2014, Mohammed Abacha versus the federal government of Nigeria, forfeiture is evidence of crime. and that is enough to nullify an election. Then there is also the issue of certificate forgery that is ongoing, that the evidence had been presented before the courts. So if the court agrees that there is a proof of certificate forgery as being alleged or petitioned against Tinubu by Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, that also is enough to nullify an election. We have seen several elections in Nigeria nullified by certificate forgery. The most recent of it being that of Bayelsa State, where the deputy governorship candidates certificates forgery or discrepancies in his certificate eventually end up nullifying the election, even after they had been declared the winner of the election, and they were poised to be declared. In fact, they were already been declared. They have governors-elect and deputy governors-elect. And a few hours to their inauguration, the Supreme Court nullified the election. Now that one is still a contentious issue because Atiku Abubakar is in has filed a suit in the United States demanding to see the academic records of Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu at Chicago State University. So that's one area that people are also looking at to see what the court will say, what the tribunal will say, whether the evidence that was presented by Atiku Abubakar is enough to sort of nullify the election. Evidence of certificate forgery, is it strong enough? Because right now, the result that Atiku Abubakar presented as Tinubu's result that was gotten from Chicago State University, that was presented by Enahoro Eba, a lawyer, had been confirmed by the Chicago State University as emanating from them. But the argument now is that they say there were discrepancies in the certificate, and that discrepancies was caused by a clerk in the university. So we don't know how this court will interpret that aspect, how the court will interpret it, because already that evidence is before the court. If you follow the proceedings of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, you know that in the course of the proceedings, that certificate was tendered. The certificate that Chicago State University gave to Enahoro Eba as evidence of Tinubu's attendance of that university. So that's among several other issues that Nigerians will be privileged to know what the court will say today. But at the end of the day, whatever is the outcome of this judgment, there is still an opportunity to go to the Supreme Court. But the truth of the matter remains that whatsoever they interpret today will send a signal whether there is still hope in the Supreme Court, or whether, like many had projected and predicted that Nigerian judiciary, like every other institution, cannot be trusted to do the needful. And what are the reasons for that? Because of alleged corruption in Nigerian institutions. Virtually all institutions of Nigeria, I believe, not to follow the due process, not to do the right thing, you know. But that of the judiciary is even the most pathetic, because like Charlie Boy quoted his father, who was a retired Supreme Court judge before he died, late Justice Oputa. Justice Oputa, let me paraphrase what Charlie Boy said concerning his father. His father was quoted as saying that if there is a problem between the executive and the legislature, they run to the judiciary. If there's a problem within the executive itself, they run to the judiciary. If there's a problem in the legislature, they run to the judiciary for solution. Now, when the judiciary itself is in a problem of corruption, who do the judiciary run to? Who will save the judiciary from itself? It was a pertinent question that was asked by Justice Oputa. And it's an indication that judiciary ordinarily ought to be above board. Ought to be above board. There should be no reason, no need whatsoever for anyone to go to the judiciary and be having doubts. But things have degenerated so much to the level that somebody like Chief Olisabakova, former senior advocate of Nigeria and former president of Nigerian Bar Association, when he was asked to make prediction or to talk about the possible outcome of the tribunal judgment, he said he cannot, because things have gotten so degenerated in Nigerian judiciary that you hardly can't make any prediction accurately, because a lot of judgments have been made in which he admitted that he could not wrap his head around how the judgment came about. So these are the reality of Nigeria we are living in. These are the reality of what is going on in our country. But it can change. Things can change. And who will change it? It is the men and women in the judiciary. It is the men and women in the legislature. We have to get to a point in this country where the outcome of an election will not be determined by the judiciary. We have to reach a point in this country where who becomes president will not be determined by the court. And the person that is declared winner don't have to be distracted by court situations, so that we have a situation where our election is full proof of any rigging. And of course, we thought that we are closer to it in 2023. We thought that we were closer to it with the use of technology. The way Mahmoud Yakubu was emphasizing that the technology is the game changer. That technology is the game changer. That nobody can rig again. That with this technology, with beavers, all the processes of rigging have been eliminated. But Nigerians were literally conned. Because after all the noise and everything, after everything had been done, they now turn around to say that technology is no longer the game changer. They can use manual to announce the results. But they had already deceived many Nigerians who hitherto, because of the conduct of previous elections, never bothered to register to vote. But because technology was said to have become the game changer, technology has become the solution. A whole lot of people, for the first time, decided to give Nigeria a chance in terms of participating in an election. They say, okay, let us go and try. Because the history of Nigeria has been littered by people who assume power without actually getting the vote of the people. People who rig their way to power. People never voted for them, but they were able to bulldoze their way. We had several types of election where those who emerge know that they ought not to be there, but for rigging. The worst of it was that of 2007. That of 2007. That was when Nigerians just say, look, this country, I've lost it in terms of democratic credentials. But we thought that 2007 was the worst until we saw what happened in 2023 on February 25, 2023. An election in which the machine that was used to transmit 3 results was able to transmit only 2, and 1 was left untransmitted. This on the claim that there were glitches. And that reminds me, the issue of glitches is one of the things that we like to court to tell us whether there were glitches out there. The same beavers machine, the machine was able to transmit the results for the senatorial election, the result for the House of Representatives election. But to transmit the presidential election results, it was impossible nationwide. And they say it was glitches. The glitches started when you want to transmit presidential results. But there was no glitch at all in senatorial and House of Representatives. So these are the things that happened, and so many other things that made the 2023 presidential election worse than that of 2007. And thanks to the awareness of Nigerians, people are paying attention. That's why you see all over the country and everywhere what people was able to get away with in 2007, they couldn't get away with it in 2023 because of the awareness of Nigerians. And various means of communication has come up that has helped Nigerians to call to question so many things that happened in the election, which ordinarily they wouldn't have space to express themselves. That's why all over the country right now, one of the trending hashtags is all eyes on the judiciary. And the reason why that is trending is because of the kind of judgment that have been coming out from the judiciary. But people who are saying all eyes on the judiciary are doing that out of patriotism because they want the right thing to be done. But that campaign is now being interpreted as blackmailing the judiciary to the level that a former Chief Justice of Nigeria, retired Justice Mary Odile, in a recent public utterances, was accusing the aggrieved of blackmailing, aggrieved of the 2023 election, those who felt aggrieved of the outcome of the 2023 general election, of blackmailing the judges. That is not blackmailing the judges as far as I can see it. It is to remind them to do the right thing. It is to remind them to deliver justice. This is to remind them that Nigerians are watching. Okay? That's not blackmail. That is not blackmail. To blackmail somebody means that the person did something wrong. Then you want to use that wrong thing they had done against him. Then you can talk about blackmail. But reminding the judges to live up to their constitutional oaths, that's not blackmail. It is for them to face their job, deliver judgments according to the law, the Constitution, no matter whose ox is God. That is what is on board. That is the truth. And why was there this agitation? Why there this concern? It's because of some recent judgments. For example, there are those who are still looking for clarity on how Ahmed Lawan, who contested for the presidential ticket of the All Progressive Congress, was able to emerge as the senatorial candidate of his party. And today he's in the 10th Senate. Whereas Rochas Okorocha, who also contested for the presidential ticket of the APC, could not get back to the Senate. And in the valedictory section of the 9th Senate, he was asking Ahmed Lawal, which magic did you perform that after we contested for president together, you somehow managed to find yourself back into the Senate? That, my friend, is one of the reasons why people are saying all eyes on the judiciary. In that same valedictory session, Senator Bukachua narrated incident on how he has used his wife, he used instrumentality of his wife to help some of his colleagues in the Senate who had issues. It's on viral video, it's everywhere. If you watch the video, you see how the then Senate President Ahmed Lawan was struggling to stop him from talking more. That, my friend, is the reason why they are saying all eyes on the judiciary. And of course, who will forget that Akpabio contested for presidential ticket of the APC. Somehow he emerged his senatorial candidate Human Central candidate after failing to get presidential ticket. And today he's this Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That, my friend, is the reason why people are saying all eyes on the judiciary. Perhaps people like retired Justice Ondele is not aware of some of these things. But these are the issues that Nigerians look at. And they began to trend with that hashtag. Is the outcome of today's judgment going to make any difference? Yes. If it was able to, if this judgment is going to deliver according to the people's vote, it will make a difference. You will feel it. If they deliver the right judgment, the eruption of joy on the streets of Nigeria will tell them that they have done the right thing. But when they were after their judgment, and all you have is just the peace of the graveyard, they will know that they didn't deliver the judgment according to the people's wishes, according to the people's votes. So that is what I will say. The justices should watch the street. If after their judgment, everybody quietly take it like that, nobody says anything, nobody said anything, there's quietness, the kind of quietness that you get in the country on March 1st. Remember that on March 1st, after the Nigerians woke up to come and discover that the winner had been announced, there was total quietness in the country. There was total quietness in the country. But there were no jubilations. There were no celebrations. There were no parties. Even if anyone was to do any party, it was an afterthought. There was no spontaneous eruption of joy, the kind of joy that Nigerians witnessed in 2015 when Muhammadu Buhari was elected. Especially, there were eruption of joy to the level that some people even died celebrating Buhari's emergence in 2015. Tinubu's emergence announcement as the winner was barely noticed by most Nigerians. So whatever verdict they give today, they should watch the streets. It's the streets that will tell them whether they did it right. And what do I mean by the streets? If there is an eruption of joy across the country, then they will know that they have spoken the mind of the people. But if at the end of the day, today, Wednesday, September 6th, 2023, after delivering their judgment, people go about their normal businesses, nobody is celebrating, nobody is joyful, everybody is going ahead with the hardship in the country and all that. That should tell them that they have delivered a judgment that is not the expectation of the Nigerian people. That is not the expectation of the voters of Nigeria. But the country have to move on. The people have to go on with their lives. The people have to go on with their businesses. After all, this is month of September. Many families have a lot of bills to settle. School fees are skyrocketing in the amount that people pay for their children's school fees. People are worried about the cost of petrol. Right now in the world oil, in the international market, the price of oil had gotten to about $89 per barrel. Most Nigerians who are conscious of their pocket are already beginning to fear that whenever you have this increase in price of crude around the world, it will eventually affect their pocket, because as They claim that they have removed the subsidy right now. You can bet that the price of fuel will go up. The price of gas will go up. The price of kerosene will go up. And the price of transportation will go up. So Nigerians will quietly accept it like that and move on. That is basically what is going to play out today. If the judgment they will deliver is not in line with the people's expectation, they will quietly go about their businesses, go about worrying how they take their children back to school and every other economic challenges they are facing. But if there is eruption of joy in the streets of Nigeria after their verdict, then they will know that they have delivered judgment that is in line with the hope and aspirations of the people. And the people's expectation is not far-fetched. People of Nigeria, the voters of Nigeria, they know who they voted for. They know who they voted for. But it is sad that it is the court that will eventually determine the final outcome. Ordinarily, if things had gone the way INEC said it will go, it is the electoral body that ought to have settled the matter, and there will be no need for anybody to go and seek judicial interpretation and all that. Because when you know that the process is fair and square, you don't have to go to court. People go to court as a result of final resort to their grievances. So, in all, as I conclude this video, I want us to note that the outcome of today's judgment is not the end of the road. It's not the end of the matter until the matter gets to the Supreme Court. The aggrieved, the losers of today, have the option of going to the Supreme Court. The most important thing is that whatever decision that the court will give or the tribunal will give, let it be with clarity so that Nigerians will be able to understand the reason why they took their decision. Let it not be like the decisions of the courts in recent times, in which even senior lawyers like Chief Ulisa Abakoba cannot even explain how the judiciary, how the court arrived at its judgment. That is what I believe most Nigerians will want. They want clarity on the reason for whatever judgments that the court decided to give today. Thank you for being part of this process. God bless you.